right, welcome everybody to the Beyond the Deck podcast. I'm Beata Rouleau, I'm founder and CEO of Compass, where we help transform messy reactive operations into streamlined systems to help businesses unlock predictable, profitable growth. I'm super excited to have Jason here with me today. Jason is the CEO and chairman of GRNX Global, a platform that is transforming how global grain trade moves. So definitely an industry that is new to me, and I'm really excited to learn more about it. A couple fun stats about their business, and Jason's going to share more, but they are supporting more than 10,000 farmers and buyers and are moving over 300 million in annual grain contracts. Jason, welcome. Really excited to have you. I'd love to just pass it over to you to give a quick introduction, share with the audience anything that you want them to know about you.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and to speak with your audience today. I guess a bit of a background. I'm a farmer, and my family's been farming in North America for 300 plus years. We were on the losing side of the American Revolution, our neighbors to the south, and my family, half of them, moved up north to Ontario to start farming, and then out to the farm where I'm at today is actually from my mother's side, which came from Britain in the late 1800s, and this farm is 1906, and it is, my sons are the sixth generation here. So we are based in Saskatchewan, and which is north of Montana and North Dakota. And we're one of the largest ag-producing entities politically in the world. We have 44 million acres of arable farmland. So it's a huge active space. And I was involved. I was a member of our Legislative Assembly of Saskatchewan for a couple terms. I've been all over the world in both my studies and in international business. And having left the political life, I went on to international business, and I came across in 2011. I was on a flight from Heathrow to Johannesburg. I was selling grain handling equipment for the largest grain handling equipment manufacturer in the world, which is based here in Saskatchewan. And part of my job was to facilitate the international trade clearances. And on this flight in 2011, I was reading The Economist. I've been an avid reader of The Economist for 35 years. And there was a little box that came up about Bitcoin. And I kind of instantly understood it because I have a background not only in business and history, but also in systematic theology. And it was actually systematic theology that kicked in here. And I thought, oh, this would be absolutely fantastic if we could start using a clearance method to clear in your own country in 10 minutes time, as opposed to what we have to do now. This would be an amazing piece. I started to discuss it with my family, my extended family in 2012. We started buying Bitcoin in 2013. Our first buy was $86. And I've been in it ever since. So we have one of the oldest blockchain groups in Canada. We started out in the mining stage and transitioned completely into agriculture in 2019. And it became absolutely apparent that the problem was not going to be the technology. The problem was going to be the interface between the regulatory of the legacy industries and how this would come about. So to that end, I was actually in front of the Canadian Senate Committee of Banking and Finance in 2014, December 17th, begging for regulation. And, it's more than a decade later, and it's just starting to come now. Very embarrassingly, I did not realize the bump that the crypto world would get from the second Trump presidency, but that is a very, very real thing. And it's not just the halving formula on the Bitcoin mining, why we saw such a huge increase in this last round, and all the institutional money coming into the space. It's too big to fail. It's not going away. And anybody that read Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper and understood it, a lot of those predictions are coming true. So the philosophical position of decentralized finance and attaching those now to real world assets is very, very real, and that's what we're doing. Canada is the third largest caloric food exporter in the world after Brazil and the United States. And there are just so many advantages with a blockchain-based clearance system. The transparency, it's instantaneous. We are solving problems with foreign exchange, with FX. We're solving situations with underwriting insurance. All of these things are enabled now by the technologies that are out there. And we're active into artificial intelligence. We've got agents working within the group of our companies. So the way that our company is set to function, the GRNX Global group is 6 companies coming together, all from the historic agricultural sector. And we have over 150 farmer investors that helped us get to this stage. These companies include, kind of the hub of it is Dominion, which is Blockchain Solutions. It was formerly Dominion Bitcoin Mining Company. And then we built out a couple of mobile applications. One is called Go Grain. It's like Uber for farmers. Every bushel of wheat, barley, whatever it might be, it must move by truck at least once, and up to 7 times by truck, just depending. So that's where we started, and this helps with our payment clearances, our traceability. It's very much like Uber for farmers. You can put in bids and et cetera, et cetera. And the farmers who all own their own trucks, they can also use it for free for their delivery to add value to their data, which is actually what we're paying them for. We also have a grain bag mapper application where we lease grain bags to farmers. These are temporary storage. These are like giant white sausages that you would see in the field that would have up to 12,000 tons of grain in them. And they become very, very popular in the past 25 years. They're all over. So we mark where they are, and then after they're emptied, we make sure that they're properly recycled, and we chase all of that and put it on chain. It's a smaller part of the business, but it's an exciting part. And the president of that division is a young crackerjack sales guy, and that one's going very well. Another one of the businesses is called VeryGrain, and VeryGrain started with the same premise of the Go Grain trucking application. Everything has to move by truck at least once, but prior to that, it has to be sampled. So it's advanced digital sampling, and these digital samples then are able to be matched with exactly what the buyer wants. And when you have that database put together to map, you're going to increase the value for the farmer on the price that they're going to get, because somebody wants exactly this, you have exactly this, the offer can be made. Which gets to our largest partner in the group is the Johnston's Grain. They're a 40-year-old family business. They have 10,000 daily users, farmers, where they're providing brokerage services between the Canadian Licensed Grain Commission buyers and Canadian farmers. And then finally, the president of the company, partner, when I was a member of the Legislative Assembly, I was the information technology critic for the province in the opposition side. And I met David then, and he's probably our most successful Saskatchewan tech entrepreneur. He's built and sold a number of companies. He's the president, and we're working with his company, Vision Pool, which has built out the mobile applications for us. On top of that, we have a tool which we're going to be using. There is a GRNX token, which we'll be launching. I hope they're able to launch it by the end of the year, but this is coming out of a foundation in the Caribbean, and the governance of that token is going to be controlled by the farmers. So it's a very, very unique proposition, and GRNX Global will be providing the data to the token. And we're able to facilitate a whole number of pieces. Trade finance is one of the largest ones, data financing, but also food traceability, digital carbon credits, agricultural carbon credits. So there's quite a few things. And very exciting right now, we're just about to do our first transaction with our partners in Japan. We have a vice president of Asia, my good friend from boarding school, Susumu Najima, who has been able to find us buyers in the Japanese market, and Japanese partners with a large financial group there, actually the largest crypto group, the RYO group, and we've been working with them, and they're tremendous partners, and it's a really nice synergistic piece. Canada exports over $2 billion of agricultural products into Japan every year. That's our focus. And, so about 10%. And the Japanese are our best customers because they're very discerning. And because Canada gets cold every year, it gets minus 40 on this farm every year. There's no way around it. That has a lot of benefits to the agricultural production process because at minus 40, we have no pathogens in our stored grains. There's no bugs. There's nothing. It can't live through that. Nothing can. It gets pretty chilly. So the higher amount of sunlight that we have, the dryland agricultural positions, we are the preferred vendor for food going into Japan. So the Japanese will never feed themselves. Not today, not in 100 years, I don't think. They have too many people and too small a space. So we're really working towards that. It is a very, very exciting opportunity for us. And one of the things that our American friends won't comprehend is that with the supremacy of the greenback, there is a trade cost every time that we're trading with the Japanese. The Japanese are having to pay us in US dollars. We are having to clear US dollars into Canadian dollars back to the farmers. And now they've developed technology, and with the blockchain, that's going to zero. So commodities don't trade globally on very large margins at all. So this is an enormous piece. And the ability to have smart contracts which are demonstrating the real world asset, the buyer, the credit, all of these pieces, this is going to affect insurances down the road. And I mean, this is one of the areas that is not largely touched on in the blockchain community yet, but blockchains are going to be producing perfect actuarial data. There's going to be massive disruptions to the insurance industry, and I already know of blockchain-based derivative products ensuring that the container is going from our farm to Hokkaido. We're paying, insurance freight on that, which is derived from very, very opaque actuarial. Blockchains are going to make that perfectly transparent, and nobody's going to be overpaying again. So it's a massive disruptional piece, and I think it's following exactly where Satoshi Nakamoto was predicting years ago. We have on our board of directors our former federal minister of agriculture, the Honorable Jerry Ritz. On the Very Grain board, we have a former premier, which would be like a state governor, Premier Grant Devine, who's also Dr. Premier Grant Devine. He's a PhD in ag economics and a master's in data science, a very, very bright man, can't slow him down in his 80s. And, these pieces, being able to demonstrate all this, I am anticipating legislative changes to enable and help producers. And at the end of the day, is really our sole focus is on providing value to the farmers. And we know that these combinations of blockchains, artificial intelligence, and just a better, quicker, faster, cheaper process is going to do that.
Yeah. I would imagine selling into farmers, correct me if I'm wrong, but these are AI, blockchain, these are all highly advanced, really on the cutting edge of things. What is it well received within? This is just such a different market than I typically work in. And so what does that process look like? Is there a lot of education that goes into it, or they're really open to solutions like this?
Well, first of all, our farms now these are enormous operations relative to the United States. I would say that our average farmer investor is likely 4,000 to 5,000 operational acres. Some of them are as large as 70,000 operational acres. So these are 8-figure businesses. They're 100 years old, and we speak farmer. They're wonderful because there's no nonsense with them, right? They whine a little bit, but they don't lie. They're absolutely honest. And they understood that they don't understand what we've asked them to invest in, but they trust myself, they trust the former premier, they trusted Jerry Ritz. And it does make sense to them because for the first time in history, a farmer can sell their product anywhere in the world and be guaranteed payment. That's the game changer. So it's very few businesses that don't have direct relationships with their customers. Farming is one of them. It's a decentralized system. And this is so scalable because I've been on to 30 nations all over the world. I've been on farms on 5 continents. And our system is very similar to the Australian system, and that'll be our next market that we go into, and then we'll be entering into with the United States, et cetera, et cetera. Our partners from Japan have American participants with them, and we have people in our company from all over the world. There's people in Dubai, there's people in Japan, typically in Geneva, where a large part of the international grain trade happens. I attended Oxford University at the SIAD School of Business there, and we had classmates from 32 countries, which we are harvesting to work, collaboratively with them. 4 Americans, by the way. And when you're an American, you don't really realize how advanced the business economic systems of the United States are compared to the rest of the world. So Canada's not that much difference, but we're smaller. So the business of America is business. Your president is a businessman, right? So it's in our class at Oxford, it was really fascinating. We had 51 students, 4 Americans, and everybody else. They're just a little bit ahead. My partner and the president of the company is a dual citizen, Canadian-American, right? And so we will be coming into the United States once we've finished up 100% of our testing, and we're excited to be doing business with our American cousins as well.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So as you're scaling, you're expanding to Japan, you're, 6 different products and entities under this parent company. What's going well for your team? What are frustrations or challenging parts of managing all of that?
The frustrating part is nothing ever happens fast enough. It's a challenging part in the capital markets in Canada, which don't exist, or like we've had 10 years of a gong show government. Actually, a former Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, his younger brother is a shareholder and was my first strategy officer. They're estranged. His brother, I think it would be widely agreed, is an idiot, and our country is bankrupt. And so our capital markets have dried up. Also, where I live, we're north of Montana. We're in a big rural area. We don't have the capital markets. So that's been a very, very challenging piece, coupled with the lack of regulatory space. But the massive change after the last, election of the president in the United States, State Street and Blackstone, all the big institutional money came in. And so the rest of the world, the Canadian regulators, the Japanese regulators, they're playing catch up, but they are doing it now. And it was part of our strategic decision to work with the Japanese because the Japanese culture is one where precision and honesty and all of these things, it takes a little while to get aligned with them. But when they bring out a product, and this is much more so with their regulatory space, it's the best that's going to be out there. So us working, the reason I was so attracted to the RYO group and hearing Anthony Diaz, who's actually an American, speak was his approach to the regulators, which was the same as our approach. And we were able to hit it off and make a partnership like this work. And this will have a lot of value to the Canadian farmer. Again, we are producing really high quality crops, and relative to the rest of the world. And a lot of that is just because of our geography. We produce 60% of the world's export durum. That's used to make pasta noodles. We produce 90% of the world's export red lentils. And there are just 65% of the world's canola is produced in Canada. So we are this massive powerhouse, but we're not competing directly with the Brazilians and the Americans on soy, on corn. There is corn grown in Canada, but not at the state that you have in Nebraska or Canada or Kansas. So where we are, it's not really grown commercially. So having the standards and having the advantage of being the first mover of putting the grain trade on chain is huge. If we are well established to have very good, open, transparent regulations and a trade relationship between Japan and Canada, especially with tariffs that have come up now from our American neighbors, this is a really timely piece. And that'll be something that is going to be able to be replicated the world over. I mean, these are from the big philosophical parts of where blockchains and decentralized systems are moving. I've been to Russia a couple times, Kazakhstan. Russia could feed the world by itself. It's that big. Now, if there's a hard way to do it, the Russians will figure it out and double it, right? So they're not going to leapfrog ahead anytime soon. But with that being said, a lot of the technology exists to end world hunger now. We have the ability to produce food to end world hunger, tomorrow. We really do. And it doesn't happen for geopolitical reasons, logistics, and storage. Like huge amounts of the crops in tropical countries go to waste every year. They're just piled outside. They've got rats on them, et cetera, et cetera. And then you also have, it's a significant geopolitical force, the grain trade. The grain trade is controlled by our American cousins. Cargill is the largest private corporation on earth, but you've also got ADM, right? Bunge, Louis Dreyfus, Continental. Those 5 companies are controlling the international grain trade. And so they must answer to their shareholders. I've been on farms on 5 continents. Farmers are honest. They can't move their farms, so they have to tell the truth. Otherwise, their neighbors know they're lying. And, it's our communities are such that it's generations. Like, we don't just know our neighbors. We know their parents, their grandparents. We know everybody. And we have a responsibility to those people. And those, we're hardworking and we're going to drive to make a profit, but we're never going to be utilizing our data to starve people. That's completely different and farmers are that way all over the world. And so when we see the attacks that, not so much in North America yet, but it's coming, but the European attack on farmers in the Netherlands, in Germany, in the United Kingdom, this is massively worrisome stuff for us because the advancement of artificial intelligence, the robot farm is here. It's not prolific yet, but John Deere and Case, they both have autonomous self-driving tractors now. So you're getting to the point where the farmer is replaceable. Farmers will be in denial of this, and it will take a lot of years because it's not caught up yet. But this is one of the things to help the farmer retain data sovereignty. If you don't control your data, your wheat doesn't have the value that it should have. So we're really believing that we're at the forefront of this piece. And the thing that can't be replicated by Silicon Valley or anything else is the farm relationships that we have here. We'll end up having them, in South Africa and Argentina and all over the world. And that hopefully the data sovereignty piece will be transitioned into legislation, and farms and family farming operations are going to be protected. There's nobody better than the American family farmer, right? This is a really interesting point of your country and the way that your primary system works. There is a farmer, was a farmer in Iowa who had 5 presidents of the United States sit at his kitchen table during the primary processes. So, we're thankful, to our American cousins, our countries are very, very close. Having democracies move forward on these things is important. And the American, Canadian, the family farm is central to the retention of freedom. That's why our families came here, years ago. So anyways.
It's just such a fascinating concept. Do you think, like, as you're looking at this, obviously you're focused on grain. Are there other industries, parallel industries for us non-grain people that you think, hey, this is probably an area that's there could be a similar model applied to?
I know for a fact that the real world assets into the petroleum space are coming. Now, you never discount the Americans. I've said that again, but the Saudis, and I was in Saudi Arabia a few years ago. The Saudis, the Emirates, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, they're all putting massive amounts of money into blockchain-based petroleum clearance processes. So I expect to see those. Mining will be slower, but it's not as hard to replicate. Agriculture will be one of the hardest, frankly, because it's much more decentralized. So you're going to have to be producing something that serves the farmer's interests. Mining is very centralized. It's the opposite, right? It's a huge capital market. It's the only vestige of the British Empire that still exists is Mayfair. So, but they will be coming. And one of the constraints that you run into as you bump up against the financial world of the investment bankers, they denied blockchains and Bitcoin for so long, and now they're all piling on. It does take some time to get your head around the paradigm shift which is occurring. So one of my, well, without doubt, my favorite historian is Sir Niall Ferguson. He's a fellow at the Hoover Institute now at Stanford. And he wrote an amazing book called The Ascent of Money. And I'd recommend it to any of your listeners. And it's about how coinage comes about, double entry bookkeeping, fractional reserve banking. And when you read this book and you can see that there's a pattern, every time you have a change in the value system or the transference of value, the new thing does everything the old thing did and something else. And that's where we're at now with blockchains. Blockchains do everything that traditional digital money did, just way better, faster, smarter. It's not on the same period. So, the SWIFT system used for international clearances, so much of this is going through New York. It's slow, it's cumbersome. The cybersecurity around it is abysmal. I mean, the legacy systems are just there. And yet, 1 in 4 Canadians owns Canadian banking stock. The resistance to movement, they own their own regulatory body in Canada. The bankers write their own regulations, essentially, and everybody's kind of fine with it. Us and the Australians have the most stable banks on earth. It's very, very hard to get a loan because they only loan you money if you don't need it. But our banks never fail, right? So it is an operating system. Blockchains are going to replace these legacies, but what they can do on top of that, they can integrate the automatic smart contracts. All of this that was analog is going to be automated, and not just automated with AI agents. And so for our investors, this is really exciting because the cost to scaling is minimal. It's a software-based model. It took time to put it together, but really it doesn't cost anything to operate 100 transactions versus one.
Right. No, and that's what's so fascinating about technology is these AI agents. So 2 questions for you. One, when you're talking to a new farmer who's maybe never heard of blockchain, this is a completely new idea for them. What's your 1-minute elevator pitch of why this is something that your farmer investors, I believe you call them, why is this something that they should care about?
Well, we just explained to them, look, I understand Bitcoin. It's not going away. I bought it at $86. It's at $160,000. So for the first time in the history of the world, you have the ability to have a relationship with your customer and be guaranteed payment. Bang, that's it. That's it, right? Like the customer is not Cargill. They're a business to business. The customer is a Japanese noodle producer.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a bunch of steps in between. And those now, the technology is flattening. So that is the elevator pitch.
Yeah.
We're beyond the farmer space now. This was for the seed rounds, and we're into our Series A, and it's a different world. So we have a vice president of investor relations. Andrew went to boarding school, or was at the boarding school I was at many, many years ago. But farmers don't speak investor banker. I don't. I have an MBA. It's a different language. And so we have the right guys that understand this, that have been working in those industries, and they talk directly. We just come in to, put the cherry on top, we hope.
Yeah, that's awesome. Can talk to me about some of the AI agents that you're leveraging, because agents, for people that aren't familiar, feel very daunting. So I find it helpful to use specifics of how people are using it within different industries.
The first introduction we did with an AI agent, her name was Thelma, and it was for the grain bag mapper division. So it was leasing grain bags to farmers, and it was essentially an order taker. And as an order taker, you phone it up and you can talk to her, right? And it was hilarious because one of the largest farmer investors in the group, we showed this to him. It's really impressive. My father recently passed, was rather elderly, and he couldn't tell that it wasn't a real person that he was talking to, right? So like it can reason, it can do mathematics, it can figure out problems for you. But essentially, it made it very, very simple. Grain bag orders are often put in July. The harvest is going to start in August and September. So if the crop is larger, you don't have the on-farm silo space. So that's when you have to do it. So there's a good chance that the farmer is going to be busy out on their farm. And they don't have to type anything. They just dial a phone number and talk to Thelma. So hilariously, it was about, the guy was showing it around to some of his other farm buddies, and it took about 3 farmers, and then there was a single guy that tried to ask it out.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
No, but I love the focus there of really meeting the customer, meeting the farmer where they are. They aren't going to be at their computer all the time filling it out. Give them the ability to talk to somebody that can put this information in the right system without having to hire someone to sit at the phones all day.
Absolutely. And where this will go, Thelma will end up becoming bespoke for every farmer customer, right? So you'll just have John,
Mm-hmm.
your right-hand man, and it'll call you daily and say, hey, you've got canola, you've got oats, you've got peas, and you've got wheat. Here's the prices today. Do you want me to execute it, boss? Right? And the way that our algorithms are going to be functioning, they will all use our system because they don't have the time to make the 50 phone calls that need to be made to find all the buyers. We do that automatically. The AI agent can do 200 phone calls in a minute, and then it can compile all the data. We use the algorithms to go back so that they get the best net return for themselves. And then, hey, do you want to do this or do you not want to do this?
Yeah.
Every time they add data into this, they're going to need the AI agents. It's just going to be a very, very simple piece where it's just having a conversation. They never forget. They write everything down, right? They've got the back end instructions. It goes in email to the proper group. And we're not quite there where we're working AI agent with AI agent. That's prolific already in the industry, but it is going to come a lot more quickly here. And so, the AI agents will be printing up the smart contracts, drafting the NFTs, all of these parts for our processes. So it's
Amazing.
one of the technology providers core that we're dealing with. The AI agents are embedded right within the GRNX wallets to automate every one of these pieces. So yeah, it's really exciting stuff.
It's fantastic. People that aren't using agents use this as your think outside of the box. There's so much that they can do, and we are not trying to replace humans. We are trying to allow humans to do what humans do best, and we don't necessarily need a human writing these things down. Let's get people into to higher level jobs. So I think that's a fantastic use. Okay, so as we're wrapping up, I would love to just a understanding of as we head into 2026. Obviously, we talked about the Japanese market. Anything else that you're focused on that you want to share with the audience?
It will. It'll be really interesting. The GRNX token and the GRNX Foundation and platform will be launching. This is the tool that we're going to be using. Other farmers hopefully will use it if there's other mediums come up. Right now, we're the only one. But anybody that's looking at this, real world assets and the tokenomics behind them, I think that this is going to be a fantastic buy. Like I said, I bought Bitcoin at 86 Canadian dollars. That's about 75 US bucks back then. The Canadian peso is collapsing because our government's incompetent. But and some of this is also predicted by Satoshi Nakamoto. But for anybody making crypto investments, making a crypto investment with a real world asset with underwriting yield farming capacities, because it's backed by a real good. Every time the token is utilized, there's a bushel of grain or a ton of grain behind it. So it's not pie in the sky. It's not vaporware. And you can see it all. You can see the licensed buyer. You can see all these pieces. I think, and then as you start to flywheel up and you have more and more transactions going through with a fixed supply, not unlike Bitcoin, right? The value of that medium is going to increase. So we're very excited about being involved with the GRNX Foundation. Farmers, this will be, for a lot of them, it'll be their introduction to blockchains. The foundation's protocols have airdrops reserved in the token distribution for farmers all over the world. There's no reason that this has to be limited to the Canadian crops that we're starting with. It's a great, simple way to get started. Wheat is stable. It doesn't degrade, right? It's easy to transport. The industry's hundreds of years old. Everybody knows the rules. We're just putting all of those pieces on chain. But eventually you'll get to the point where you'll have on-chain logistics right for your strawberry farmers and your animal husbandry, eggs, everything else. And what's so exciting about the GRNX protocol is it's going to be controlled by the farmers. The voting nodes are going to be controlled by the farmers. And we expect it to be hitting its stride when it gets introduced to the American farmer. And that'll be, so this is the early stage. When it hits the American farmer, the American farmers, the best farmers in the world, in my opinion, are the Dutch and then the Canadian and Americans. We're best at large-scale dry land. But the Americans and the French, they are the best at controlling their political processes. And they're wonderful, wonderful producers. And we're really looking forward to the entry into the U.S. marketplace and watching the farmers. Like, this is just a tool we're using, take control of those governance processes. I love hearing the passion that comes out of the American farmer, the American rancher, right? They're what make you guys great neighbors to us. So that's a great place to stop. So have a look for it. Look up GRNX.com. And I know that it's coming soon. There's sale agreements for future token consideration are likely available within the next week or so. As people put their mind around that Bitcoin's not going away, the trading of grain is going to be done on chain. There's no way around this. So the appreciation capacity for the first group that's actually doing this is GRNX. We know of no one else in the world that has anything equivalent because they don't have the farmers involved. This is 150 farmers will immediately be onboarded with 1 million acres of production. That's 1 million tons of aggregate production that can go through the system, as quickly as it can be ramped up.
Yeah, that's great. I'll be sure to put that link with this video just so people are able to access that quickly. But thank you so much for your time, Jason. This was a crazy world that I don't live in around blockchain and grain and the combination of that. So thank you so much for sharing more and educating us on what that can look like, sharing about agents. Yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And the invitation's very much appreciated, and we'd love to come back. So thank you.
Yeah, sounds good. Appreciate it so much, and we'll talk soon.
Very good. Thank you.